that
You
could
thought the
thaw
Brown
an
family was
entire
all about
Alaskan
sticking
winter.
together through thick and thin,
And
right?
at the very
Well,
center
turns
of
out,
it all,
behind those pine
Amy
trees and
Brown.
wilderness smiles, there
Let's
was
find
drama
out.
brewing that could
The
thaw
early
an
divide.
entire Alaskan winter.
Most
And at the
people who
very
tuned
center of it
into
all,
Alaskan Bush
Amy
People
Brown,
thought they were
the
watching
quiet
a
matriarch
reality
that
show.
most fans saw as the glue holding that wild family
Hey,
together.
Mom, do you have any
But
cooking oil?
she just dropped
All
a brutally
that?
honest confession about the 5 family members
Five
she could
people
barely
from
stand.
those she weighed.
So
So
sit
who
tight
are they?
because there's one name
And what
in
did they do
particular
to
that
leave
will
such a mark
absolutely
on the
leave your
woman
jaw
who
on
held
the
her
floor?
family together
Ready?
for years?
Let's go.
Let's find out.
Number 5.
The early divide.
Matt Brown.
Confession about
Matt
the 5
Brown,
family
the
members
eldest son
she
of
could
Billy
barely
and Amy
stand.
Brown from the reality
sit
series
tight,
Alaskan Bush
because
People,
there's one
has
name
had a
in
rocky
particular
road,
that will
one
mark his
filled with
untouched
addiction,
wilderness.
legal troubles, and emotional
Billy,
distance
Amy,
that
and their
ultimately
7
pushed
kids
him out
made
of
it
the
seem
family
like
circle.
a wolf pack
Once a key
that had
figure
built
on the
their
show,
entire
Matt's
lives.
relationship with
to
his
hide
loved
her
ones
pain
began
for
to
so
crumble
many
as
years.
personal struggles
Brace
took
yourself,
center stage.
because the truth
Many
behind
fans
the
wondered,
spotlight
how
will
did
leave
someone
you
so
stunned.
central to the family
Matt Brown,
dynamic end
in
up so far
2014,
removed?
the show
Matt's
painted the
bond with his
Browns
mother,
as an
Ami, once
off-the-grid
strong,
family
began to
living
falter
deep
around
in Alaska's
2019 when he
untouched
stepped away
wilderness.
from the show to focus
Matt
on his
Brown,
well-being.
the eldest
Though both
son of
mother and
Billy
son
and Amy
lived in
Brown
Washington
from the
State,
reality
they became
series
emotionally
Alaskan
distant.
Bush People, has
Communication
had a
between them
rocky
was
road.
minimal, if it
For a
existed at
while,
all.
it was easy to
However,
believe it
a
all.
rare and touching moment
When viewers
unfolded on
watched,
Mother's
it
Day,
wasn't
when
just
Matt,
about
then
survival.
36,
It
shared
was about a
heartfelt
family
video
who
online,
2014
reaching out to his
embodying strength
55-year-old
and
mother.
unity.
According
With his
to a
tall
source
frame
close
and
to the
sincere
family,
smile,
the
he
gesture
led
moved
his
Ami
6
to
siblings
tears,
through the
especially
brutal
poignant
challenge.
as she
This
had
involved
recently
chopping
battled cancer.
trees,
That
building
emotional
homes
message
from
seemed to
scraps,
crack open a
and
door.
fishing in freezing
Ami
rivers.
reportedly reached out to Matt.
For a while,
checked in
it was
on him,
easy to
and they
push
spoke
him
briefly.
out of the
But
family
Matt was
circle.
clear. While he still
Once a
loved her
key
deeply,
figure on
he
the
wasn't
show,
ready or
Matt's
willing to
relationship
return
with
home.
his loved ones
Ami
began
Brown
to
actually
crumble.
had people
However,
she couldn't
behind
stand
all
on the
that
show.
wilderness was
After
a
all
different
those years
version
of
of the
smiles and
story.
family bonding, this
Even
reveal
though the
changes
Browns
everything.
did spend
Who
time
made
in
her life
remote
miserable
areas,
behind the
her brother,
cameras?
who
Stick
always
around
put
till the
family
end,
first,
because number one is a
especially
name
in
that'll
scenes where
surprise
he
you.
taught
Their
others
fragile
how to
connection
hunt,
was
chop
further
wood,
complicated
or
by Billy
repair the
Brown's
a
stance.
family who stuck
According
together
to
no matter
insiders,
what.
Billy wasn't on
That's what
speaking
made the
terms
show
with Matt,
extremely
and Ami,
popular.
feeling caught in the middle,
However,
had to
behind all
navigate
that
loyalty to
wilderness
her husband
dynamic
while caring
end
for
up
her
so
son
far
from a distance.
removed.
It left many asking,
Matt's bond
how do you
with his
choose
mother,
between your partner
Amy,
and your
once
child?
strong,
Matt's struggle
began
with
to
addiction
falter
started
about the
quietly
reality
but grew
of their
more visible as the
isolation.
seasons progressed.
It wasn't just
His first
outsiders
publicized
who
incident
saw
came
it.
in
Amy did
2016
too.
when he was arrested
Caught in
for
the middle
DUI.
of it,
After
in the
a
face of
35-day
hardship,
rehab stint, he
off-screen
returned to the show
cracks
briefly
began
but
to show
relapsed and
cracks
checked into
that
rehab
would
again in
eventually leave deep
2018.
emotional
He
wounds in
admitted
his
that
as it
substance
looked.
abuse had isolated
Over
him,
time,
affecting
fans
both his
started noticing the
participation on
cracks,
show and his
and people
relationship
began
with his
asking
family.
questions about
In
the
his own
reality
words,
of their
Matt said he wanted
isolation.
to get his
Lived in
life back
Washington
on track.
State.
Things
They
took a
became
darker turn in
emotionally
2021
distant.
when Matt released an emotional
Communication
Instagram
between
video.
them was
He
minimal,
accused the show's production
if it
team of
existed at
enabling his
all.
substance use and
One of the
claimed that
first
financial
places she felt it
exploitation
was with
within the
Matt.
family left him penniless.
Surprised?
He alleged
Let's
that his
take a
father
step
controlled
back
the
and look at
earnings
the
from the
family
show,
before
leaving
we
him with
unravel
nothing,
everything.
despite their
The
years
Alaskan
on
Bush
television.
family.
That bitter
People
revelation
shook his
raised questions
heroic
among
image.
fans. Was
In
the
an
family's
Instagram
unity on
post,
screen
he
just
wrote,
for show?
"I've
To
been
make
fighting
matters
demons
worse,
within
Matt was
myself,
accused by
and I
two
know
women
I
of
need to
sexual
change to become a
misconduct
better
in
version
2018.
of who I am."
Allegations that,
One of her
though not
family being
prosecuted,
shown to the
cast a
world
long shadow
wasn't
over his
always the
public
version
image.
she
The
recognized
women,
at
both with
home.
professional
And
ties
one of
to
the
Brown
first places
family,
she felt it
described
was with
deeply
Matt.
traumatic encounters.
Surprised?
Discovery Channel
Let's
acknowledged
video
the seriousness
online.
of the claims and
Reaching
supported a
out
police
to his
investigation, though no
55-year-old
charges
mother.
were filed.
According to a
aftermath
source
created
close
deep
to the
divisions.
family, Alaskan
His
Bush
brother
People
Bear
wasn't
stated
the
publicly
usual
in
kind of
2021
reality
that
show.
Matt was doing his own thing
It didn't
and
shine a
hadn't been
light
in
on
contact.
red carpets or the
Private text
buzz of
messages
living in the
revealed
city.
that his siblings were aware
His
of the
decision to enter
allegations
rehab
and
was a
deeply
step
troubled
toward
by them.
reclaiming control,
Despite fan
but it
driven
also
campaigns
marked
to
the
bring
beginning
Matt
of a
back to the
widening
show,
distance
the
between
family
him
remains
and his
united in
Go
keeping
down
their distance.
75 yards that
Today,
way to the
Matt
creek
lives
and
alone
fill
near
it
the
back up
family's
and
former
haul it
home
back
but
up and
remains
dump it back
estranged.
out.
He's been
Alaskan
sober
Bush
since
People wasn't the
2019
usual.
and often
Seemed to
shares
crack
updates
open a
about his
door.
recovery online.
Amy
Still,
reportedly
the distance
reached
from
out
his
to
family
Matt
seems more
checked in
permanent
on
than
him,
ever.
and they
Number
spoke
4.
briefly.
Billy Brown.
Society.
Billy Brown,
On the
patriarch
Discovery
of the
Channel,
Alaskan Bush
people were
held an
instantly
enormous
drawn
amount
to
of
this
influence over his
unfamiliar way
family
of
during their
life
time on the
when it
popular
aired for the
reality
cancer
show.
treatment.
His personality,
Matt made a
strong and
surprising
commanding,
decision.
often
He
shaped the
chose
course
to
of their
stay in
lives,
California,
sometimes
cutting
for better,
ties with
but
his
also
loved
for
ones.
worse. People who
Glimpses
followed the
into the
show often
wilderness,
wondered, was
following
Billy a
the Brown
protective father
family
just trying
as
to
they
lead,
carved
or
out
was
a
he simply
life
too
far from
controlling?
modern society.
From all indications, his
On
vision
the
of living off the
Ami
grid
Brown
wasn't just a
actually
family
had people
decision,
she couldn't
it was
stand
Billy's
on the
decision.
show.
He dreamed of a
After
life
all
deep in
those
the
years
Alaskan
of
wilderness,
smiles and
he expected
family
everyone
bonding,
else to follow that
from
dream,
Copper
whether
Center,
they liked it
Puna,
or not.
and Chichagof
His
Island.
wife, Ami Brown,
Later, they
especially felt the
relocated
weight
to
of those
Okanogan
choices.
County,
Billy
Washington,
had a way of making every major
who once
decision
considered
himself.
him her
He
greatest
set the tone,
pride.
the goals, and
In
even the routines.
2019, Matt
While that kind of
officially left
leadership helped the
Alaskan
family
Bush
survive
People
harsh
disappearing
winters and
2014.
unpredictable challenges, it also
The
meant
first
that everyone
episode
else had to
showed the
rely
Browns in
completely
some of the
on his
most
judgment.
remote parts of
Ami,
Alaska,
in particular,
from Copper
didn't have
Center,
much of a
Puna,
say
because
when Billy
number
decided
one
to move the
is a
family to
name
places
that'll
far away
surprise
from
you.
civilization.
Their
That choice
fragile
reshaped her
connection was
entire
further
world.
complicated
She had
by
to
Billy
raise kids
Brown's
in extreme
began
isolation,
questioning its
all based on
authenticity.
her husband's ideas
Viewers
rather than
started
mutual
picking
agreement.
scenes apart,
Over time,
wondering
Billy's
whether the
decisions brought
family's
more than just
isolation
physical
was truly
hardship.
as
So within the Brown family, especially for Ami, who
and
seemed to
several of
lose
their
a vital
children
part
were
of
hit with
herself.
legal troubles.
That same
They were
year,
charged
Matt's
with dozens
story
of
became
counts
even
of
more
unsworn
troubling.
in a new
falsification and
environment.
theft for lying about where
The
they
show
lived in
claimed
order
to be
collect checks
unscripted,
from
but as the
Alaska's
seasons
permanent fund
continued,
dividend.
more people
Billy and
began
one of his
questioning
sons,
its
Bam Bam,
authenticity.
eventually
had
pleaded
to
guilty.
navigate
They
loyalty
avoided
to
jail
her
but were
husband
sentenced to
while
community
caring
service
for
and
her
had to
son
repay
from a
thousands of
distance.
dollars.
It
Ami,
left many
by
asking.
association,
However,
was drawn
the
into the
Browns
mess,
weren't
yet
without
again feeling the
problems.
consequences
Yes.
of Billy's actions.
For starters,
Even
Billy
after
Brown,
Billy
the
passed
father
away
and head
in
of the family,
2021,
had a
the problems
complicated
didn't
During the
stop.
summer of
A
2019,
$500,000
Jessica,
lawsuit was filed
a former
against his
coordinator
estate
for
by an
Alaskan
investor
Bush
who
People,
claimed
recounted
Billy owed him
in
money
a
from
report to
earlier
the
book and
LAPD,
creative
and
projects.
And before long,
Since Ami
discussions
was the
about the show
executor of
being
the estate,
staged
she was
became harder
directly
to
named in the
ignore.
lawsuit. Despite her
Off-screen,
attempt to have
however,
the case
the
thrown
Browns
out,
weren't
the
without
court wouldn't
with
dismiss
addiction
it.
started
One can only
quietly,
imagine the
but
stress
grew
of
more
grieving while
visible
also
as the
managing a
seasons
lawsuit over
progressed.
money she may have
His
known
first
little about.
publicized
As if
incident
that weren't
came
enough,
in
On the other
Billy's
hand,
health had
Ami
also taken a
Brown,
toll
his
on the
wife,
family.
was at one
He
point
suffered
mentioned
from
about
seizures and
welfare
heart
fraud.
issues, and during that same
Unfortunately,
period,
it wasn't
Ami
until
herself was diagnosed
2004.
with
Your
late-stage
glasses.
lung cancer.
And that's a moment
When
I'll
Ami
never
needed support
forget.
the most, Billy seemed more concerned
Shelley,
with leaving the
who
Alaskan
once managed
wilderness
Matt
than with her
personally,
well-being.
said
His
complicated
comment, I don't know
past.
how I'm going to live
Back in
without it,
1980,
hurt Ami
he was
deeply and
connected
caused
to a
an
horse
uproar among
theft
fans who
case.
saw it as selfish.
On the other hand,
in the end,
Ami
after
Brown,
Billy's
his
death,
but
Ami had no
relapsed
choice but to
and
step
checked
up.
into rehab
She
again
became the
in
new leader,
2018.
handling everything from
He
finances to
admitted
family
that substance
dynamics.
abuse had
And even though
isolated
Billy
him.
had
60
left
charges,
behind financial
including
confusion
counts
and
of
emotional
unsworn
scars, Ami
falsification and
continued to
theft.
honor his memory.
So what
She kept the
exactly
family
led to the
together,
Alaska
quoting his
Department of
philosophies
Revenue
and
declined
carrying
to
forward
press
the life they
charges
had built,
after review.
however difficult it had been.
Even so,
Isn't it
the
remarkable how some
allegations
people
severely
carry both
damaged
love and
Matt's
burden in the same
reputation.
breath?
Wanted to
Ami Brown
get
just
his
dropped
life
the truth
back
bomb
on
that no one
track.
saw coming.
Things
Yes,
took a
she's
darker
finally
turn
naming
in
the 5 people from
2021
Alaskan Bush
when Matt
People she
released an
absolutely
emotion
couldn't stand.
From
Keep watching till
2009
the end
through
to find out.
2012,
Number 3,
the Browns
Raven
applied for the
Adams.
Alaska
Raven
Permanent
Adams didn't
Fund
just enter the
dividend
Brown
by
family.
claiming
She
Sized
stormed
his
in like a
father,
whirlwind,
Billy Brown,
bringing both
in an
love and
Instagram
chaos in
post.
equal measure.
I've lived
It all
cold,
started
hungry, and
innocently
bankrupt,
enough in August
while the show brought in
2018
hundreds
when
of thousands of
Raven,
dollars.
working as a
charges
photographer
against
at
the
Noah
Brown
Brown's
family,
wedding alongside her
including
mother,
counts of
first crossed
unsworn
paths with Bear
falsification
Brown.
and theft.
Who could have guessed then that her
From
presence would eventually
2009
shake the very
Exploitation within
core
the
of the Brown
family
family's
left
dynamic?
him penniless.
Bear and Raven's connection moved
He alleged
fast,
that
too
his
fast
father
for many
controlled the
fans.
earnings from the
By
show,
July
leaving
2019,
the year,
their romance
which
went
would
public,
make them
and by
ineligible
August,
for
they
those
were already
payments.
engaged. But
Billy
as
was
quickly
hit
as
with
things
20 of those
escalated,
charges.
cracks began to show.
He was accused
Just
of
a few
Roughly
weeks after the
$300,000
engagement,
per
again.
season.
Then came the
Though he
bombshell,
claimed none of the
Raven was
profit
pregnant.
reached him.
Was it a
These
joyful
words
moment?
shocked fans
Yes.
and placed
Was it complicated?
In contrast to
Absolutely.
the
Things got
investigations,
messier
it
from
claimed
there.
they had been
Raven's
living
pregnancy
elsewhere
was
for
marked
more
by
than half the
increasing
year,
tension. She
which would
moved
make
to
them
Texas and
raised
filed,
questions
then later
among
dropped
fans.
a restraining order
Was
against
the
Bear.
family's unity
Their
on
communication
screen
broke
just
down,
for show?
and Bear didn't even meet their
To make
son,
matters worse,
River, until 6 months after his
Following
birth.
the investigation,
Still, in
Billy
true
and his son
rollercoaster
Joshua,
fashion,
known
they
as Bam
reconciled
Bam,
in September 2020.
accepted a plea deal
Bear
in
shared online that
2015.
seeing
The
Raven again
painful sight
reignited
of
old
her
feelings,
eldest son
and they chose to
openly
become not just
opposing his
co-parents
father,
but partners
shaking
again.
the
But
foundation
would it
of the
last this
family
time?
she had devoted
Turns
her
out,
life.
He was
not really.
accused of accepting
Their
over
on-and-off relationship
$21,000 in
continued with multiple
PFD payments
reconciliations
for
and
himself
breakups,
and other
3
family
major ones
members.
before they finally tied
Following
the
the
knot in January
cast a long
2022.
shadow
over
Even
his
after the
public
wedding,
image.
the cycle didn't
The
stop.
women,
They
both with
separated again in
professional
March
ties to the
2022,
Brown family,
then December, and
described
once more in
underage.
April 2025.
As part of their punishment,
Along the
they
way,
were
they
sentenced to
expanded
house
their family,
arrest,
welcoming two more
required to
sons,
repay the
Cove
money,
in early
and had to pay
2023
additional
and
Emotional
Everest in
wound for Ami.
mid-2024. Despite
Those
the
close
growing
to the family
stability
revealed she
always seemed
rarely
just
spoke
out
of
reach.
Matt after
But what
his
really turned
departure.
heads was when
but
Raven
responsibility
publicly
for the rest
criticized
of the
very
family,
show that
excluding
made the
Matt,
Browns
who wasn't
famous.
living with them
in
then,
early 2020,
and Rain,
she claimed
who was
Alaskan
still
Bush People
underage.
was fake.
As
That half the family
investigation,
didn't even live
though
on the
no
mountain as
charges were
portrayed.
filed.
She didn't stop
The
there.
aftermath
In court
created
documents,
deep
she alleged
divisions.
Bear had been mistreated
His
and
brother
erratic,
Bear,
and
Despite the
even claimed his
controversy,
behavior
the
was
show
linked
didn't
to
slow
substance
down.
use. She said
Season
he
10
threatened to
aired
kick
in
her out and withhold basic
2019, followed by
necessities like
Season
food and
11
money.
that December,
Naturally,
by
these
Season 11 that
accusations clashed
December,
with the image the
and
Brown
Season
family
12
had worked
debuted
so
in
hard
August
to maintain.
2020,
Tensions
as the
between Raven
Browns
and
still
Ami
had
Brown were
fans
never
willing to
loudly
watch their
publicized,
sync.
but
We're not
anyone
close
watching
anymore,
closely could
and he
sense
doesn't
the
want to be
strain.
part of the
After
family.
Bear's 2022
For
arrest
Amai,
for
Matt's
domestic
departure
violence,
laden with
just 2
resentment
months
and
after their
allegations,
wedding,
but text
Raven called the
messages
incident a
revealed
private
that
matter.
his
Still,
siblings
it was
were
one more
aware of
blow
the
in a long string of
allegations
family issues.
and deeply troubled
With
by
Billy
them.
Brown's death the previous
Despite
year and Rain
fan-driven
Brown's legal
campaigns
troubles,
to bring
the Browns
Matt back
were
to the
already
red,
on shaky
with whom
ground.
he had a daughter,
Raven's
Twyla
rocky
Byers,
relationship
who
with
briefly
Bear only
appeared on the
added fuel
show.
to the fire.
There's also
She did,
speculation
however,
about another
acknowledge how
daughter
all the
named
drama
Brandy,
impacted
although
the family.
details are
In a
scarce.
TikTok video,
Over
she
Brown and
admitted
the
things
fifth
only
son
got
of
better
the Brown
when they stopped
family
fighting
always
each other
stood
and
out on
started
Alaskan
focusing on
Bush
solving
People for
problems
his
together.
introspective
But
nature
with so many
and
ups
warm
and
heart.
downs, one couldn't
Unlike
help
his
but
more
wonder,
rugged
was
brothers,
peace ever
Noah
truly
brought a
possible in this storm of
Interestingly,
love,
some
loss,
parts
and
of Billy's
constant
life
tension?
remained off-screen,
Number 2.
including his
Joshua
previous
Bam Bam
marriage to
Brown.
Brenda Britt,
Joshua
with whom
Bam
he had a
Bam
daughter,
Brown,
Twyla
the second
Byers,
oldest
who
son in the
briefly
Brown
appeared
family.
on the show.
One seemed
Former
like the
home,
most grounded among the
remains
Alaskan Bush
estranged.
People crew.
He's been
He
sober
was a
since
skilled tracker, an
2019
effective hunter,
and often
someone
shares
fans often
updates
thought
about
had it
his
all
recovery.
together.
Known as
But
Bam
behind
Bam,
that tough,
born in
competent exterior
1984,
was a man carrying
Bear,
a load
whose
of
full
emotional
name
weight,
is Solomon
most of which
Isaiah
he
Freedom,
rarely allowed
born
to
in
show.
1987.
When Ami
Graham,
Brown, his mother,
family
was
is
diagnosed
everything
with
to me.
cancer, the
I
family
live to
understandably
protect
fell
and
into
love
emotional
them.
chaos.
In
Bam,
2025,
however,
an
took a different
The
unexpected
large
path. He
pack
pulled
with
back.
Billy and Amy's
He wasn't
7
one to
children.
cry or vent.
Matt,
Instead,
born in
he built
1982.
walls. High walls.
Joshua, known as
While others
Bam
processed the
Bam,
pain
born
out loud,
The patriarch
Bam poured
of
his
the
energy
Alaskan
into
Bush
action.
People
He arranged
held an
hospital
enormous
visits,
amount
spoke
of
with
influence
doctors,
over
and
his
kept the
family during their
informed.
time on the
On the
popular
surface,
reality
it seemed
show.
like he was holding
His
everyone
personality,
together. But was
born
he?
in 2002.
As time passed, it became clear
As time
that
went
Bam's
on, their
stoic
children
nature wasn't
grew
just
up and
about
started
staying
their
strong.
families.
It was about keeping
Noah
himself
married
from
Rain
feeling
Alicia,
too much.
and they have
He
2
avoided
sons,
the raw,
Elijah
emotional
and Adam.
conversations.
family and
He
fans
seemed
by
almost
contacting
cold at
police
times,
to
even
request
to
a
Ami,
wellness
who
check
longed
on
for
his
more
mother.
connection with her
According
son
to
during
reports
such a
from Radar
vulnerable
Online,
period.
he
Could it be
expressed
that in trying to
concern that
protect
Ami
himself,
was in danger
Bam was
while living at a
unintentionally
remote
pushing his family
Amora
away?
Jean, who goes
But
by
Bam's
Birdie,
emotional
and the
distance wasn't
youngest,
the only
Merry
challenge he
Christmas,
brought to the
Catherine
family.
Raindrop, known
In
as Rain,
2014,
born in
a serious
2002.
legal cloud settled
As
over the
time went
Browns
on,
when the
their
state
children
charged
grew
Billy,
up and
People who
Ami,
followed the
and several
show
of their
often
children,
wondered,
including
was
Bam,
Billy a
with falsifying
protective father
dividend
just trying to
applications.
lead?
The
Or
accusations
was he
were
simply
heavy,
too
60
controlling?
counts of unsworn
From all
falsification and
indications,
theft.
his vision
Eventually,
of
two
Bam
sons,
and Billy took the
River
fall.
and Cove.
They pleaded guilty to
What
a lesser
started
charge,
as a survival
second-degree
series
unsworn
slowly became the
falsification.
story of a
The
growing legacy
consequences?
through all the
A 30-day
seasons.
jail sentence,
Yet no matter
community
how big
service,
the family
forfeiting
use
future
drugs
dividend rights,
and ignore
and a
her
hefty
essential
fine.
treatments.
In court,
During
Bam
the
kept
call
his
with
statement short
authorities,
and emotionless.
he described his
He
mother
said he
as out
regretted
of
what had
control,
happened
not
and had learned
herself
from it.
anymore,
Was that the truth,
and shared a
or just another
disturbing
wall?
Rose Pantilla,
After
and
serving
they are
his time,
parents to
Bam made a
daughters
big
Sophie
decision.
and Winifred.
He walked away from the
Bear
show and
married
distanced
Raven
himself
Adams,
from the
and they have
family.
2 sons,
With the Browns
River and
relocating
Cove.
to Washington following
What
Ami's
started as a
diagnosis,
survival
Bam
series
seized the
everyone
opportunity
else
to
to
step
follow
away.
that dream,
He wanted
whether
something
they
different,
liked it or
life
not.
beyond cameras,
His
beyond
wife,
the wild.
Amy Brown,
He began traveling,
especially
building
felt
new
the weight of those
relationships,
choices.
and trying to find peace
Billy
on his
had a
own
way of
terms.
Everything
But peace didn't
changed.
come easily.
Amy,
in 2022,
at 57,
a
was
devastating car
diagnosed with an
accident involving
advanced
Bam
stage of lung
resulted in a
cancer.
young woman's
The
death.
family had to
Though
make the
not
hard
publicly
choice to
charged,
leave
the
Alaska
incident added
so
yet
she
another
could reign,
emotional layer
but
to his
also
already complex
exposed a
story.
troubling side
Ami
of
supported
Ami's
Bam's
current
quest
living
for independence
situation.
at first. But after
Noah's
Billy's death in
decision was not
2021,
impulsive.
her need for closeness
It stemmed
grew.
from long-standing.
Sadly, Bam remained distant.
He wasn't just
And
the
while he
father,
hadn't
he
completely
was the
cut off his
person
family
everyone
like his
looked
brother
to.
Matt had,
But in
his contact was
2017,
minimal.
everything
Ami, already
changed.
dealing with loss,
Amy,
now faced
at
the added
57,
heartache of
was
missing her
diagnosed-
second
kind of
oldest son's
leadership
steady
helped the
presence.
family
One
survive
might
harsh
wonder,
winters
has Bam found
and
the peace he was
unpredictable
looking
challenges.
for, or is he still
It
running
also
from
meant
something only
that
he
everyone
knows how to
else
name?
had to rely
Ami Brown
completely
has been
on his
silent for
judgment.
years, but now
This
she's
wasn't
done
the only
holding back.
tragedy about to
She's
hit the
just
Brown
exposed the
family.
5 cast members
Another
that pushed
heavy
her
blow
buttons
in
the most.
2021
You're going to
struck
want
the
to
family.
sit tight for
Billy
this one,
passed away.
because the last name she
Fans
mentions
who had
changes
followed the
everything.
Browns for years
Number 1.
filed for a
Noah
restraining
Brown.
order against
Noah
Rain,
Brown, once
citing
celebrated as the
harassment
family's
and
creative
violent
fixer,
behavior.
gradually found
In
himself
court
at odds with
documents
those
obtained
closest to
by
him.
In Touch
His
Weekly,
reputation as the problem
Noah
solver in
recounted
the
it,
Brown
And what
clan
was
made
once a
his journey
story
all the
about
more
living in
surprising.
nature
But what
quickly
happens
turned
when the
into
one
one
who
about
always had
fighting
the
for
answers
life.
decides he wants
But this
something
wasn't the
different,
only
something
tragedy
just for
about to hit the
himself.
Brown family.
That's exactly what
Another
unfolded
heavy
when
blow
Noah
in-
began stepping away
That
from the
choice
shared lifestyle
reshaped
his
her
family had
entire
always
world.
known.
She
His
had to
desire
raise
for
kids in
independence didn't start
extreme
with big
isolation.
drama. It began
All
with a
based
simple
Was
search
suddenly
for a
rushed
home.
to the hospital
Not just
again.
any space, a
Bear
proper
and
house,
Snowbird
not
let
an
fans
apartment.
know that she had
Why?
been suffering
Because
from chest
Noah wanted
pain and
more than a
breathing
roof
issues.
over his head.
A deep
He wanted
void.
room to breathe,
Yet
space
more
to define
challenges
his own
followed.
identity away from
Ami,
the family's
who had
traditions.
beaten cancer
While
once,
most of his
was
siblings
suddenly
seemed
rushed to
content
the
with the
hospital
group
again.
dynamic,
Hardship.
Noah had his sights
In
set on building
2016,
something separate.
Billy,
Naturally,
Amy, and
his
several
mother,
of their
Ami
children
Brown,
were hit
had mixed
with
feelings.
legal troubles.
She supported his desire
They were
to
charged
grow,
with
but at the same
dozens of
time,
counts of
she couldn't hide
Forced
her
her on a
disappointment.
breathing machine.
How could the family's go-to guy
Snowbird
suddenly
described
turn
her
inward?
condition clearly,
His shift from
seriously.
communal
Her
priorities to
lungs were
personal
in bad
goals
shape.
created ripples,
And things were
especially with
critical
someone
for a
like
family
Ami,
that had
who worked
already
hard to
watched
keep
her
everyone close.
Noah described a
Things got more
disturbing
complicated
incident
when
involving
Noah married
horse
Rain
care,
Alicia in
where Rain
2018.
and their sister
It seemed like
Snowbird
a new
ignored
beginning,
his guidance,
especially with the
leading to the
arrival of their
death of
two
one of the
sons,
horses.
Elijah and Adam.
When he tried to
But the
fund
happiness
dividend,
didn't last. In
Billy
January
and one of his
2025,
sons,
the
Bam
couple made their
Bam,
split public
eventually
in a rather
pleaded
awkward
guilty.
TikTok video.
They
Noah,
avoided-
visibly shaken,
She had a living
explained
chance
that they
of
had
just
mutually agreed to
3%,
separate.
and had
Rain,
gone through
however,
chemotherapy
appeared
and
far less
radiation.
emotional.
What's more,
After the breakup,
they had
Noah
up-
moved
These
into their
details
guest cabin,
recorded in
only
his
seeing
legal
his children on
testimony
weekends
painted
or
a
when
picture
arranged.
of extreme
How did a
family
once tight-knit
tensions
family man
that
end up
pushed
so
Noah
alone?
to take
The
drastic
drama
action.
took an even darker
Now here's
turn
one.
in August
Back in
2024,
2017,
when Noah and Rain
Ami's
filed a
odds of
restraining
beating
order
cancer
against his
were low.
younger sister, Rain.
She had a living
According to
chance
their
of
claims,
community
Rain had
service
allegedly
and
made
had to
disturbing
repay
threats,
thousands
saying life
of
would be
dollars.
easier if Noah were dead,
Amy,
but
by
only if she could get away with
association,
it.
was
Noah
drawn
also
into the
accused
buying a
Rain and her husband Josiah
435-acre
of using hard
property in
substances.
Washington to be close
As if
to
that
hospitals.
weren't shocking enough, in
Fortunately,
April
by the end of
2025, Noah called the
2018,
police to perform a welfare
For
check
Ami,
on his own
Noah's
mother,
report
claiming she
felt
was
like a
couch
direct
surfing
stab
with
to
Rain
the
and
heart.
taking meth herself.
A
The
family
court,
source
however,
quoted
didn't
by the
grant
Sun.
the
gone through
restraining order due to a
chemotherapy
lack
and
of
radiation.
evidence.
What's
Still,
more,
the damage was
they had
done.
uprooted their
Noah's
lives for her
accusations
health,
left deep emotional
buying a
scars.
435-acre.
Ami, already torn by
The
his earlier
problems
decision
didn't
to
stop.
live apart, now faced public claims from her own son
$500,000
that questioned her
lawsuit
health,
was
stability,
filed against
and
his
even
estate
sobriety.
by an
Quite made
How does
it
a
to
mother
air.
forgive something like that?
Because if
Rain
someone
came out
told you
strongly
Ami
denying
Brown held
everything,
on to some
saying
deeply
Noah had
buried
fabricated
resentments
lies
toward
about
a few
her,
people in
Josiah,
her circle,
and their mother.
The pain
With the
only
family
deepened
now
when the
split in
wellness
more
check
ways
failed
than
to
one,
uncover any credible
communication
evidence
broke down
supporting
further.
Noah's claims.
For Ami, the heartbreak
Although his
wasn't
actions
just about
came from
choosing
cons-
sides.
Yet for
It was
everything
about watching
Ami
the
had been
tight-knit
through
family
from
she had
survival
nurtured
to
slowly
sickness,
fall
there
apart.
was still one
Noah's
part of her
actions,
story that
once
never
intended
quite
to build
made
a
it
life
to
of his
air.
own, had
Executor
inadvertently
of the
created a
estate.
chasm
She
between
was
himself
directly
and those he
named
once
in the
held dear.
lawsuit.
With this, we have
Despite her
come to the end
attempt
of
to
this
have the
video.
case thrown
Thanks
out,
for watching.
the court
If you
When
enjoyed
Matt
this
Brown was
video,
at the center
do
of
well to
everything.
like, comment,
The
and
oldest of the
subscribe for
Brown
more
children
content.
who took charge
To
when a
enjoy more
storm was
thrilling
coming or
stories,
something
click
had to
now
be
on the
built from
following
scratch.
video that pops up on your screen.